Me and Gene, Pete, we're then there. He's backstage.
Yes.
He's in front of some lockers, and they sort of do some really dumb stuff here, where the WWE would be like, it is. They've got yellow tape, and someone's just got a big thick black pen, and they've written WCW and private on it, and just stuck it randomly on these old lockers. And there's a fucking dirty green towel hanging off it. And then he's like, "Oh, I'm going to do my bit." The WWE, they would have looked at that and just gone, "There is absolutely no way we are going to portray that image." You know, what's the private thing there? It doesn't mean anything. You know, all of it is just tawdry, and people have dressed the set, but they've dressed it to look shit. It's just absolutely bizarre. And in comes our main eventer, Roddy Piper. It's a strange one, Piper.
It's one of his strangest ones, and I can't help but think that there's a lack of oxygen going to his head, because he sounds like he needs to pop a wee asthma inhaler in the top of one of his bagpipes, because his chest sounds very congested.
He's 6'7", 270 pounds. I'm a midget.
And the things that he is saying. Does he make a joke about Roseanne Barr's bra as a yarmulke at one point?
You see, if you take Hogan's ego, did I say Hogan's? Hogan's ego, what's your name? Roseanne Barr's bra cup, put it on his head, it's a yarmulke. See you later.
Wait a minute, Roddy, don't go away.
That is this because he ends this promo where he's going in to face Hulk Hogan. He ends it with the word yarmulke, and then he starts hopping off. And I did look at this, and I did think, you know, the thing about Piper, and the thing about like Vince McMahon is Vince McMahon would never have given Piper so much leeway that he ends the last thing he says before a massive main event against his huge arch nemesis for all these years is the word yarmulke, and then hop. I mean, it just boggles the mind.
I just survived one holiday. You have one more bite of this turkey, I'm going to look like Roseanne Barr.
I don't know about that, but we do have some special...
Piper's at this funny period, and after there's a bit I did read in his book, and his book is so hard to say what it's about, because I read the whole thing and I was like, I don't feel like I even knew what he was talking about at any point. It was so vague and just sort of surface.
And I could even see in your wrist, you broke your wrist. You won't have it fixed because they say you won't be able to play the bagpipes again.
How'd you know that, man?
I read your book.
You did, man?
Yeah.
Honest to God, if anybody's going to give me an honest God, what'd you think? I did it from my memory and from my heart.
But there's a bit he starts off with, and he says, I was on a show with Mick Foley, and Mick Foley said to me, Piper, you were so successful, and you've done so well, and you're so beloved. Why are you so bitter? And there's just something about him in this period where it's like he's got the weight of so much like horror on him or something that he's almost glassy-eyed. There are bits where he comes alive when he starts doing his promos, but so much of it he looks like he's bereaved a lot of the time. He sort of wanders around looking like he's in a daze or a fugue state, and it's odd that nobody said to him, how about we get back to going, I'm going to beat you up, you know. I'm going to take my bagpipes and shove them right up your ass, you know. Instead, he's walking around going, see, it's a funny thing. That's a funny, you know. It's
his performance in Legends House. This is where it ends. Legends House is where it ends. He's just wandering in the street.
It is. And the funny thing about the Piper book, and I was thinking more and more about Piper, is everyone's like, he is one of the greats. And oddly, for a lot of the main event that comes up, he is really, really good. And his reputation relies largely on how good he was as a talker. But I've got to say, I can't think of one promo that I gloat. That is absolutely from top to tail a classic. And this was a perfect example where I was like, oh my God, it's great. The lights have gone back on. He's shaking his arms around. I was watching this with my daughter. She's 4 now. And when he started moving his arms, she began doing it involuntarily, like back to him. Just she liked the movement and stuff. And I was like, this is basically arresting a crowd. If you can get a 4-year-old interested in what you're doing, there's something there. But then, of course, you know, he lost her when he was shouting yarmulke and talking about Roseanne Barr. just strange. It is. It does feel like when he goes into it and it goes well, you go, oh, it's a A real nice moment of lucidity there. It's like when an old person, suddenly they stop singing under their breath and they suddenly sort of go, where am I? It feels a bit like that. It's let's finish, Petey, on a high. Oh, yeah. Sorry, it's Chris Benoit with Woman.
Yes, Chris Benoit with Woman, yeah. I mean, there's something very unlikable about seeing Woman and Benoit pairing, which I know all about them, and I've seen them do things separately, but lordy, it's wow.
Shocking, isn't it? 'Cause you do see them, and this is a funny one, because we've seen quite a bit of Benoit building up to this, and actually, this is the first time where we've seen him years in WCW and New Japan, and he's never quite looked like Murderer Chris Benoit, and suddenly here he is, it's Murderer Chris Benoit. He looks exactly how he would do, until the end of his life. But seeing them together, you just look at them and you just go, they don't have an idea. They don't even know.
No,
and it is just weird. It's a weird thing. It is funny in a weird way that it's all left there, isn't it? It's funny that as we started off talking about Roddy Piper and the Bad News Brown. It's funny they went take that out, and then you have this murderer and the woman he would kill standing there together as a couple. There is something odd about it,
especially because the people, the Jeff Jarrett, is just the way that he's sort of doing the Nature Boy dance, in looking like a foppish prince in a Sierra video game or a Disney romp.
There's someone pissing about, and you sort of go, Jarrett, mate, I know it happens years later, but look at yourself now. This
could you not treat this very somber moment with the respect
entirely
you could possibly never have known?
Jarrett, just tweeting him and going, mate, what are you thinking, mate?
What are you doing?
Mate,
you killed
have
her.
some fucking respect, Jarrett.
And he's just doing his best. He's just doing his best. And yet I can't just criticise it. I can't ever criticise the man. And he couldn't have known. No one could have known. Oh, Lord.
No, but, I mean, maybe what they should do is they should have a sad-faced Jeff Jarrett emoji that they can put over bits where people are being too light-hearted in moments where you go, I feel the ick. This is bad news. They're very impressed on commentary with the fact that Woman is wearing a dress that Benoit bought in Paris, France.
Wow. He treats them right, don't he?
Oh, doesn't he? He's not all
he
bad,
knows
is he?
He knows how to show a lady a good time. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I would say you can get cheap dresses in Paris, France, right?
You can get same as every city, for crying out loud.
He's wearing a suit from Milan. Oh, that must be expensive. No, because Milan as a city has people of all economic strata and a number of different shops catering for them all.
There's an Italian B-Jams.
Yes. And out comes Jarrett in his old WWF costume as well. And that, again, absolutely WCW to a T. Going, well, I've signed with you now. What should we do for a costume? And they go, have you still got your old one?
Have you still got the old one?
That'll do.
Should we dye it? Nah.
No. A bit like, you work for BT and you turn up and you go, is there an outfit I should wear? And they go, no, you've turned up here wearing your Mercury Telecoms T-shirt. That's absolutely fine. You just carry on. Terrible stuff. What's really interesting in this is Jeff Jarrett in this is effectively the face. Benoit is part of the Four Horsemen. And the crowd are so used to seeing Jarrett as a really irritating heel in WWF that they cannot just go, he's a good guy now. And what's really interesting about this was a pay-per-view that took place in Tennessee, which is Jarrett's hometown. He comes from Hendersonville. And he'd been a big babyface star in Memphis for years before going to the WWF. But what you can see here is the death of the territory system. So even though he's the hometown boy and once sold out the Memphis, the Mid-South Coliseum, again and again and again, within just a couple of years, that sense of regional favourites and regional baby faces, who they cheer regardless of, what was going on, that has entirely gone. And I think for Jarrett, that's a bit of a weird thing where you go, oh, okay, I'm no longer relying, if you like, on my hometown crowd to get me over. I'm slightly on my own now. But there's a great culture clash as well between the two men. So you have Benoit, who is just this chiseled, explosively violent, really hard-hitting, really precise and clinical. I want to use the word killer, and no one can dispute any of that. But what you've got Jarrett with this sort of WWF stroke Memphis style, where Benoit is laying in these knife-edge chops, and then Jarrett will come back with a sort of looping, great big soft Memphis punch. And watching these two distinct styles come together, you are a bit like, oh, Jarrett, mate, you're not the future. You're not the future. Even the way he sort of hangs off the railings when Benoit throws him into the guardrail, it's sort of a bit flouncy and melodramatic, Yeah. And what you're seeing is the death of that traditional regional style that Memphis always did. And everybody now is a fan of WCW or WWE. It's national stroke international appeal. And there's no longer that room for going, well, he's a good old boy from where I come from. Now everyone in America has the same responses to wrestlers. And that's a sort of fascinating thing to just watch how that business has changed.
Hi there, Pete Donaldson here from WrestleMania. Just a quick note, please like the video that you're watching right now, but also subscribe as well. Also, head on over for our Christmas WrestleMania shows. 12 special episodes of the WrestleMania Patreon over at patreon.com/WrestleMania. We've got newsletters in there. We've got special Cardi Boys unboxing videos for some terrible WWE cards very soon as well. So join us over at patreon.com/WrestleMania for all of that. Good, be good. Merry Christmas!
You can sum it up by basically saying Benoit is Taxi Driver, intense, frightening, has a bad ending, it's horrible. And then you got Jeff Jarrett, who's like a Gilbert and Sullivan opera, and it's all light and flouncy, and you sort of go, don't want to see it all the time. But like Gilbert and Sullivan operas, again, years after they were popular, still going. So that's very much the Jarrett story. Benoit can have a good to great match with anyone. Jarrett, when put in the ring with the right person, he can really, really put a high-level match on as well. And then they do an absolutely shit, confusing ending that is just...
Oh, just who planned that?
What
they know
a
what
mess.
The finish is. The Vision Mixer just fucked it. They didn't go at the right camera in time. Kevin Sullivan comes in and hits a
They miss it entirely. They don't explain what's happening at any point. You can break it down. You go, right, woman interferes. And this show has so much interference. This is really... Arn Anderson then runs down. There's a sort of, is Jarrett going to be asked to be in the Four Horsemen angle that was running at the time because Ric Flair liked him and the others are unsure? And then suddenly Conan and Hugh Morris, no idea what they're related to, they run down and they attack Woman.
Yeah,
she
Woman
kicks Hugh Morris in the nuts.
Him,
and then Conan puts a sleeper on Woman and she no-sells it, which is really, really poor. Arn then DDTs Jeff Jarrett, but that's on the outside and the camera entirely misses Kevin Sullivan hitting Chris Benoit with a chair. But even more confusingly, when they show the replay, Kevin Sullivan is wearing a Four Horsemen t-shirt, which I believe was supposed to be because you might have seen him in the crowd and wanted them to think he was a fan. But of course he didn't like... When you see 27-year-old Angles, you do just go, this ages so badly. The idea that you can't just have a good match that is timeless, but you're a bit like, you have to watch 3 or 4 months of Nitro to work out what's going on.
And everything fucks up. Mean Gene comes out to try and clear it all up by what actually happened in the finish to explain to the people in the auditorium. But then what follows is 10 minutes of terrible sound. No idea what's going on. The mic isn't working.
The mic is down, the mic is up, the mic is really reverberating, and it's
awful.
Just awful.
All right, Mean Gene is trying to get an interview right now. Yeah. Gene? Wait a minute.
Non-committal in saying anything about what's going on that has broken this group apart.
They finally get the mic working in time to speak to Deborah, and the moment that they get the mic working, Deborah fluffs her lines a bit, and so it's just like, oh my God, this is as bad as it gets.
A winner, and Jeff Jarrett is a winner. I mean, Jeff Jarrett is definitely horseman material. Now, those 2 other things, like Chris and Nancy.
And then she says, the problem with Woman is she was rode hard and put up wet. And Gene is absolutely horrified at that turn of expression. He goes, not right at all. Not right at all.
Not right at all.
I was watching the whole of this and going, I've got to work out the sort of machinations in the mind of about 7 people. And then there's a monstrous slur against a woman who I know will be a victim of murder. And it's just, all of it was like, on top of that, the mics weren't working. What
Help me out.
would, I mean, just snip bits of it out, WWE. Just get rid of the bits that ruin everything.
Bits that don't make any sense.
Oh, it's bad. I did like the Four Horsemen t-shirt that Arn and Kevin Sullivan were wearing, the half photo, half illustrated, sort of all 4 of them. And again, never got a reprint. Oh, no, actually, no, it can't, because it's got Benoit on, isn't it? It's,
yeah.
It's a bit like if like Harold Shipman had been a member of Shawaddy Waddy, and you'd be, I'd love a Shawaddy Waddy t-shirt because I really like the band. You just constantly go, oh yeah, but of course. Can we go back in like Shawaddy Waddy's discography and remove the tracks that Dr. Harold Shipman sings on? That's what I'm asking for. There'll be loads of people. This is exactly what the Benoit argument is as well. There'll be loads of people just going, it's really important that all of Shawaddy Waddy's work is preserved. It's
and we should allow our statues of Shawaddy Waddy's Harold Shipman.
Yes. We will have a vote to see if the Shawaddy Waddy with Harold Shipman should be taken out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It didn't do it. No, they are still there. Good. You have to have a big picture of him up in it now. Loads of people going on about, you cannot deny the fact that Dr. Harold Shipman did sing Boom Shang-a-Lang, better than a lot of people around.
He was a fat grooving bassman.
Yes, he had, mental issues caused by standing too close to the bass stack. But, that caused personality changes, clearly. But you can't deny that up until the point where it all went wrong, he was a brilliant rock and roller.
We pin Shipman's crimes on chair shots. We don't know what he did in his private life. We just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing is, take away all the horror, and you have to admit that his body of work as Shang-a-Lang's key high note hitter is among the best that the industry has ever seen.
What I like about the godless future of AI is that, people talk about AI creating these wonderful things, but all the AI is doing is scrubbing the internet for facts that humans have put there, right?
Yeah.
So if that's in the record now, we're talking about Shipman's history in Shawaddy Waddy, and that's what the AI data banks will be using. They won't detect that we're taking the piss. They won't detect that we're being silly.
Shawaddy Waddy can't be upset that we've just done this anyway.
No, I mean, exactly. No.
We all know what Shawaddy Waddy was. It was the lead singer. It was the one who... It was Dr. Harold Shipman, and it was Chris Benoit on drums. That is a fact. There we are. Look, there's a look. They always cover the obvious stuff, like, the Benoit Shawaddy Waddy connection.